What's up guys, today we will be going over the Izanagi's Burden, which is the new exotic sniper rifle that's available this week because the last forge became available, and it has the exotic perk Honed Edge. Holding and reload consumes the magazine and loads around with additional range and damage. And also the other perk on this weapon is Outlaw, which we all know Outlaw does, no need to explain it. In this video we will be going over how good this weapon is, comparing it to Whisper the Worm, looking at the damage of it in PvP, and also giving a few tips and tricks of this weapon, and overall just trying to get a feel for how good it is compared to other things in the game. So let's go ahead and begin. So first thing I want to talk about is how the exotic perk works. So as you see, if you hold reload, you consume the entire mag into one shot, get Honed Edge ×4 on the left side of my screen. Then once you shoot it, you can reload like normal, as you see right here. So what happens if you only have like 2 shots in the mag? Well, if you hold reload, you still get a Honed Edge ×4 shot, because what it does, it pulls from reserves. So as long as you have 4 ammo in the gun, it will always make a Honed Edge ×4 shot. And as you see right here, if you hold reload as you shoot, it actually bypasses the regular reload and does both at one time. Then also, if you only have 3 bullets in total, it only makes it ×3 bullet, then also ×2 if you only have ×2. So let's look at the base damage of this weapon. It hits 3657. Now testing the base rate of fire of the weapon to get the base damage per second. See how long it takes shooting off all 10 shots. And it took roughly just under 6 seconds. So the base damage per second of this weapon is 6,116, which isn't too bad, right in there with most energy snipers in the game. Now I'll start looking at the damage of Honed Edge on this weapon. So with ×4, I hit 18,238, which is a lot, which is exactly 5x base damage. So you consume 4 bullets, but you get the damage of 5, so that's actually pretty good. So now let's look at Honed Edge ×3, so with 3 shots, consume the mag. Go ahead and shoot the ogre, and now hit 10,247. So with ×3, you actually want to do 2.8x base damage, so you consume 3 shots, but don't do the damage of 3 total bullets, so you're actually losing damage with ×3. Now finally, let's test with ×2. So with only 2 shots left, go ahead and reload, shoot at the ogre, and now I hit 7,292, which is exactly 2x base damage, so you consume 2 bullets and do the damage of 2 bullets, so it's an even trade-off, but not nearly as good as ×4 where you actually gain damage. Now let's try to test the rate of fire of Honed Edge ×4 on every single shot. So first I'm going to do this without any reload perks, then the second time I will use Sniper Rifle Loader, because the damage per second of this weapon is greatly dependent on the reload speed of the weapon. So first, without it, shooting off 5 shots with all Honed Edge ×4, and I'm not reload canceling or anything, because with snipers in this game you have to wait for the entire animation no matter what, if you cancel it or not. So it took 13.415 seconds to shoot off 5 shots, meaning the damage per second with Honed Edge ×4 is 6,798, which isn't too good, but not really that surprising. So now let's do the same test with Sniper Rifle Loader, and see how that helps the damage per second number of this weapon. So once again, shooting off 5 shots, starting off with Honed Edge ×4, and see how long it takes this time. But as mentioned at the beginning of the video, it's very important to hold reload as you shoot, that way you can bypass having to reload twice per shot. So it just procs Honed Edge ×4 right away. And that took 11.427 seconds, meaning with a reload perk, the damage per second of this weapon is 7,980, which isn't that good. If you guys watch a lot of my videos, that's still lower than a 100 RPM shotgun with full auto. Now it's compared to Whisper the Worm with the catalyst on it and White Knell. So as you see, proccing Whisper Breathing, shooting the ogre, I hit 8,439, which means Izanagi's Burden actually does 2.16x damage per shot compared to Whisper the Worm, which is pretty good for burst damage. Now let's test the rate of fire of Whisper the Worm. So once again, shooting off 10 shots, see how long it takes. That way we can get a DPS number for Whisper and compare it to the Izanagi's Burden. And that took roughly 7.196 seconds, meaning the damage per second of Whisper the Worm is 11,727, which is quite a bit more than Izanagi's Burden, and it's really not even that close. So Whisper the Worm is better for sustained damage per second, then also sustained damage. As you see here on the ogre, I shot off 6 shots and actually didn't lose a single shot because of White Knell. I procced it twice. But Izanagi's Burden is still good in some scenarios. It is definitely the king of burst damage in the game currently. So any scenario where you can kill someone in 1 shot or 3 shots, let's say you're in a fire team of 3, so 1 shot each, obviously Izanagi's Burden will be better in that scenario because it'll be an instant kill. So let's break down the second perk on this weapon real quick, which is Outlaw, as you'll see right here. And we all know what Outlaw does, so let's go ahead and test the base reload on this weapon from shot to shot. It took 3.135 seconds. And now proccing Outlaw on an ad and doing the same test. See how long it takes now. It took 1.867 seconds, so Outlaw is a 40% faster reload on this weapon, or 1.6x times the speed of the base reload. So if you want to get really crazy, you can do some pretty weird stuff with this weapon. You can proc Outlaw before going into a boss fight, then pull off 2 shots extremely fast with Outlaw and kill the ogre in 2 shots, as you saw right there. But most boss encounters don't have adds nearby that you can proc Outlaw on, and if you do, it only lasts for roughly 2 shots. Now let's talk about PvP damage with this weapon. So on body shots with ×2, it does not body shot. Then with ×3, as you see right here, once again, it does not body shot. It's pretty close, but not quite. Now finally with ×4, as you guys might imagine, it does 1-shot body shot, hitting 328, so it actually does it by a good margin. Now let's talk about its ability to 1-shot supers. So without the perk, I hit 167. Now with ×2, as you see on a roaming super, I can now 1-shot them, hitting 287. So this weapon can shut down supers in PvP, which is definitely pretty good. Next part of this video will be some tips and tricks and also myth busting with the weapon. So if you proc Honed Edge ×4, then drop a Lunafaction Rift, it reloads the mag. But as you see, only the first one is a Honed Edge ×4, then the rest are just regular bullets. So if you want Honed Edge ×4 again, you have to reload. So it actually doesn't do anything. Then the same can be said about Traverse Steps. So if I go ahead and proc Honed Edge ×4, then sprint to reload the mag. Once again, the extra shots in the mag are just regular bullets, and if you want Honed Edge ×4, you have to reload once again. So there's no way to bypass the fact that you have to reload every time if you want an exotic perk, which is pretty good, so there's definitely no cheeses to this perk. Now I want to talk about some of the armor pieces I definitely recommend when using this weapon. So number 1 is Sniper Rifle Loader on your gauntlets, which is very important because you have to reload very often with this weapon. Then also a Scavenger perk is very good too, to pick up more ammo per box. Then on helmet, you definitely want Sniper Rifle Reserves. With 1, you go to 22, and with 2, the other being on your class item, it'll go to 24, which I don't currently have, but once I do get it, I'll probably use it. So using 2 reserve perks, 1 loader, and 1 scavenger is definitely probably the way to go, and it'll give you the best results when using this weapon. And since this weapon is a kinetic, as you see, I only have 8 ammo, but once I start activity and land in, I will have almost full ammo, because that's how kinetics work in the game, which is definitely a plus for this weapon. Then also, every time you start an activity, you want to go ahead and proc Honed Edge ×4, because once you get a special box on the ground, you can basically hold 26-ish ammo, because you have 1 ×4 bullet procced, but it only takes 1 ammo in your total reserves, so I can still hold 22, but one of them does ×5 damage, so really I have like 26-ish ammo right now, so it's definitely a good thing to do. Then with that same knowledge in mind, whenever you rally a flag in a raid, do the same thing. Go ahead and proc ×4 before, drop the flag, and then rally it. That way you completely optimize how much ammo you have going into the encounter, and it's definitely the best thing to do. So let's talk about how good this gun is overall. So I want to start off by saying they marketed this gun being able to compete directly with Whisper the Worm, and that's definitely not even close to being true. Izanagi's Burden does under 8,000 damage per second in the Lost Sector, compared to Whisper the Worm doing low under 12,000. So right there alone, that's 50% more damage per second for Whisper the Worm. Then on top of that, Whisper the Worm has basically infinite ammo because of White Knell, compared to Izanagi's Burden, where if you have 20 reserves, which is the base number for reserves on the weapon, and you proc all ×4 bullets, you only have 5 bullets in total. So you have 5 bullets that do less damage per second than Whisper the Worm that has infinite ammo that does 50% more damage per second over that infinite ammo. In my opinion, Whisper the Worm should be the king of sustained damage in the game with White Knell, that just makes sense. But since it's also the king of damage per second in the game, in terms of snipers, it's kind of hard to have anything compete against it. It outclasses everything in damage per second and total damage output. Like, how can something compete with that? In my opinion, Izanagi's Burden has to out damage per second Whisper the Worm. It only has 5 shots, maybe 6 depending on your ammo reserves. Why shouldn't a gun with 5 or 6 ammo not out DPS a weapon with infinite ammo? How does that make sense? You're sacrificing ammo and total damage output for less DPS? There's no trade-off there, it's just straight up worse. Now in those very select few scenarios in the game where your entire team or you can kill an enemy in the game with 1 shot, Izanagi's Burden is definitely better for that scenario. It's basically Nighthawk in that situation. And don't get me wrong, what this gun does, it does extremely well, is just that you don't really need that almost anywhere in the game. I think one thing that would have helped this gun greatly would be spray and play instead of Outlaw. Spray and play, when your mag is empty, you reload a lot quicker. So if you were going for a Honed Edge ×4 shots back to back to back to back, you'd be proccing spray and play on every shot, which would greatly help you burst through that 5 or 6 ammo very quickly, and that would be a good trade-off. You would do insane burst damage with this weapon, but you'd be out of ammo very quickly, and I think that would make a lot of sense. So outside of those scenarios where you know you can really take advantage of the burst damage with this weapon, I think over time, once everyone kind of gets out of that phase of, hey, this is a new exotic, I want to use it, I think eventually Whisper the Worm will just completely outclass this weapon in almost every way, and this weapon will probably just be sitting in all of our vaults. And I'm sad to say that because I really actually like this weapon. I like how it feels, I like everything about it, and I really like using it, but I just know it's not better than Whisper, so over time this weapon will just fade away into the shadow of Whisper the Worm. I'm definitely looking forward to using this gun a lot in the near future to see if I'm wrong about how I feel about this weapon, and I truly hope I am wrong. I hope it is useful in a lot of scenarios, but I just don't see it happening. Anyways, that's gonna be all for the video. Let me know what you think of this weapon. Do you agree with me? Do you think it's very good at what it does? It's just outclassed by Whisper in like 90% of scenarios in the game? Or do you think it's actually truly probably the best sniper in the game right now? Anyways, as you may be able to tell, I've been pretty sick. My throat and voice are definitely not the greatest right now, so I haven't been streaming or anything like that, because my voice can barely handle like 20 minutes of talking at a time, so I probably won't be streaming for the next few days until I fully feel back to normal, but I'll let you guys know on Twitter or on YouTube when I go back to streaming. Anyways, thanks for watching, catch you guys next time.